Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham, where Team Needham discusses everything healthcare. I'm your host, Shawn Needham, along with my wonderful wife, Janet, and we are streaming live from the Moses Lake Professional Pharmacy podcast studio. And we are super excited to have Jake Platt on our podcast today. He's going to be discussing the MORPH Method, and you'll learn all about it in the next few minutes. So, Jake, welcome to our show.
Hey, thanks for having me, you guys.
So we were discussing a little bit off air just what a small world it is. And, in 1990, you moved to Seattle, which is where you live now from New Jersey. And we literally lived 10 blocks away from each other when I was going to pharmacy school.
That's right.
How cool is that? So tell us a little bit, Jake, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what brought you on the show today.
Sure. My name is Jake Platt. I'm a health and fitness coach, and I wrote a book called MORPH Method. It's a pathway to holistic wellness. And so I'm a new author, and I'm looking to just promote my book and promote my my services.
So tell us how you got into lifestyle and fitness coaching.
Sure. Well, my first career was in the martial arts. So I am a master in Taekwondo. So I opened up a Taekwondo center in 1993 in Queen Anne, and I did that for about 10 years while I was going through, various, I'd say, degrees and evolutions of my Taekwondo career. I started to get into fitness pretty heavily as a way to help my Taekwondo athletes perform better. As you know, Taekwondo became an Olympic sport in 1996, and I decided to jump on that bandwagon and field a team. And so I started to do a lot of Olympic Taekwondo type coaching. And before long, I ended up getting quite a good team going. And then I started to train the Olympic gold medalist, Stephen Lopez. He just came off getting an Olympic gold in Sydney, Australia. And so I started training him for the 2004 Olympics. And so it just sort of kind of evolved more into fitness and a little bit away from the martial arts as time progressed. So in like 2006, 2007-ish, I ended up converting my Taekwondo center into a CrossFit gym. I was one of the founding CrossFit gyms in Seattle. I was the second one to open up, first 100 in the world to open up. And at the time, one of the things that was always very important to me was having a healthy lifestyle, especially since, I grew up in that grunge movement, but I lived a pretty clean life. I was a martial artist, and I had a martial arts center in town. So it wasn't like one of those things where I could just go out and party all the time because people kind of knew me. And so I wanted to have a good reputation, but I lived a pretty clean lifestyle. And then when CrossFit came about, there originally, a lot of people don't know this about CrossFit, but it was a lifestyle program, and it was really centered a lot on the paleo type of diet, and just eating really clean, living really clean, and having a really basically paying attention to all your habits and whatnot. And so and then it kind of evolved into a sport, and a lot of people took their, they kind of took the direction more towards competing, and the lifestyle piece kind of got lost in the mix. And so, I had at the time started to open up multiple gyms. At one point I had like 4 gyms, and so we were really big on doing Whole30s all the time. I was always having, weight loss challenges. I was always trying to keep that going in the gym, because I always felt like it was a missing link in everyone's life. and so that's, to me, was where I just really kind of zeroed in on health primarily. And then everything else was sort of like secondary to that. So that's, and then of course I had my own health challenge in 2014, 2015. I hurt my back and went through a terrible ordeal trying to get that back into shape, and got depressed and went through a breakup, and I started doing, I was probably drinking a little bit more than I should have. I kind of lost my edge, and it was during that moment that I had this kind of epiphany, like wow, this is what a lot of people are going through in life. They're going through what I'm going through right now, and I just happen to have the tools and the resources to know how to pull myself out of it. And so it was almost like in a weird way, it was an experiment, of, not a good one, but it was a good experiment that I went through, and it taught me a lot about myself, a lot about health. And so I ended up applying all of those lessons into my life, and then decided to build a program out of it. And that's what the MORPH Method really is. It's really a program that I spawned out of that experience I went through.
Awesome. So Janet, what questions do you have for Jake?
Wow, that was a lot. But before you get into the method, what is your take on what's happening in our culture? Because just a little bit of our background, when Shawn and I first entered school and then we started practicing, we just see so many more people struggling with their health. And is that what you're observing? I mean, how is it in the gym world? I mean, because we see it from a different perspective. What is the trend that you're seeing in our nation?
Oh, I think this is the worst I've ever seen it. I mean, it is by far the worst I've ever seen. Health what's really fascinating to me is the level to which the health has declined. It's profound. So yeah, I see it everywhere.
It's interesting you say that, because we've had this conversation, Shawn and I, about my mother was a fan of Elvis. And I remember when Elvis died, my mother was crying. And I thought as a child, I was like, Mom, he's overweight, like he's fat, from my brain set, right? But now if I look back at those pictures and then I look at our culture and our society, he actually isn't today, right? Like we have really changed, I think, especially in the last 3 decades in our level of health. So what are the challenges that you have? I know the first of the year, you're going to get a whole bunch of people in that door. What are the challenges you're facing to keep people on track?
Well, I mean, if you look at what the root of it all is people have lost the ability to look at themselves as magical beings, that are capable of doing amazing things. And instead, they've reduced their lives down to the roles that they play in life. They allow themselves to be influenced through, social norms. And I really do believe that it is distraction, that people are really where they're at. Technological distraction. We're on our phones a lot more. We've got so much information coming at us from all different areas, from every single place. Behind us, it's the size of it everywhere. We're just being infiltrated by just thousands and thousands of messages throughout the day. And I think people are also told, and maybe even I would say encouraged to be how they are, and so society almost supports it, and to me, it's really, I think it's devastating.
So what makes it? Tell us a little bit more about the MORPH Method and what makes it different.
Well, I wanted something that was going to help people as like a means of being able to take control over their health. because I think that, like, to your point, it's like we have a lot of different shortcuts out there and programs that people want to go jump on, and everyone is looking for, quick fix. What is the shortest route? What's the most convenient? This and that, and really, health is, to me, there. What people, I think, are in general looking for is optional health. Health is sort of optional. And when you allow yourself to have choices around your health, it's sort of like, yeah, I could be healthy one month, I could be unhealthy another month, I could be unhealthy this month, And so what I'm trying to do is trying to get people to be, cultivate a healthy lifestyle forever, and so rather than, having optional health, let's focus on optimal health, So instead of optional, we want optimal. And so how do you have optimal health is really just a matter of how you, I would say, how you change your mindset. Really, it's a mindset issue. And so I think, I have three ways. I look at it like this. You have three selves, right? You have your past self, your present self, and your future self. Your past self, it's, your memories and so lessons that you learn. And then you have, your future self, which is, I call that past self, by the way, I call that self, it's our teacher, and then the future self is like our strategic planner, and so, but what we really are is this doer, we're in our current self. And I always say, you gotta have the strategic planner tell your current self what to do. And so really, I'm being led by my future self. So I want my future self sets in motion how I am to, act throughout my life, like how am I, my principles, how I'm supposed to behave, and how I'm supposed to treat myself, and how I'm supposed to, work, cultivate these habits I have. And so to me, what people are doing instead is they're allowing their doer, the current self, to dictate what they do. And if you do that, then you're just going to always have all these options on the table to do whatever you wish. Mm. And so I make it non-negotiable. My future self sets in place how I do everything, and then I just follow that. And so it's really just a mindset switch. And well, that's what I think is people are just caught up in.
Isn't it kind of like instant gratification? And it seems like, especially with, younger generation, they don't want delayed gratification. And you talk about future self, that's exactly what it's got to be. I mean, you're not going to make these dietary changes or these fitness changes in your life today and be stronger tomorrow necessarily. That's right. It's about, it's about delayed gratification. And it sounds like the MORPH method probably gets into a little bit of that, Nick, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I bring in a lot of philosophy. I bring in Jung, Carl Jung, a lot of different philosophers and whatnot, because, it is a philosophy. It's a life philosophy. If we're going to be healthy, we need to live a specific type of philosophy. And, and I think that like what Carl Jung says about individuation, the first half of your life is about, you're chasing your dreams, your goals, your ego pursuits. And then the second half of your life is more of a spiritual journey. You're divesting from all of that, and so, you really have these two journeys that are going on. And I think that what's happened to a lot of people is that while they're just chasing after all their dreams and stuff, and they're not thinking about their future. They're not thinking about what life is going to be like when they're in their 70s and 80s and 90s. Right. And instead, they're just thinking about what it's going to be like next week or 6 months from now,
Or right now.
Right. Or right now. And so, so yeah, it has everything to do with instant gratification and, and delayed gratification. I mean, that's it in a nutshell, actually.
I mean, it reminds me of a debate I got into with a person. He's 27 years old, so still young, and his lifestyle choices, he knew they weren't good, but he said it's not worth it to him to make those changes. And I basically told him, I'm like, well, when you're 50 and maybe you're wheelchair bound or you're really, really unhealthy, you probably would have thought different about that. And I've had people who have told me that have lived to be in their 50s and their health is horrible. They're like, if I would have known I was going to live this long, I would have taken a lot better care of myself.
Yeah, and I think that's the message, right? I mean, that's the message we want to try to cultivate in our society, is that, there's going to come a time when you're going to look yourself in the mirror and your future self is going to stare at you right back in your face. And what would you want them to say to you? Would you want them to say, what did you do to me? Why did you do that? Why were you doing all those things? Why did you not take care of me? Or do you want them to say, hey, you did a good job. I'm proud of you. Thank you. You did everything you could, and so I think that's what it is.
Well, I also think there's a lot of mixed messages, especially when, I'm looking at like the industry that Shawn and I are in. It's always sick care, it's never prevention. So we don't put in people's minds that, and especially, when we're talking to people, he mentioned somebody in their 20s. Well, seriously, that's where it has to start. It has to start early and build on it. It's never too late. I realize that. And I don't want to paint that picture by any means. But I feel like we really sell ourselves short when we don't start early, because the leaps and bounds that you make when you start young in life on a healthy lifestyle is so important, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's not taught to us. I mean, who's teaching this to you? Nobody.
Right.
So you might get like a 5-minute. Your doctor might say something, but it'll be like what, 10, 15 seconds. He might say, hey, you need to take care of yourself better, whatever.
Right.
But otherwise, where are you getting that messaging from? Where are you getting those influences from? You're not, unless you're really trying to pursue optimal health, you're not going to. So yeah, I think that, for me, I wanted to kind of write a book that I felt was down to earth, that anybody could understand it. It was pretty common sense oriented. Even the name, mindful, organized routines, practiced honestly. And I just felt like, well, it's got to be in these 6 pillars of health, because, mindful is being mindful, and organized. You need to be organized, and we need to create routines. We're creatures of habit, and we need to do things honestly, and that's the thing that, I don't think very many people are leaning on, is that you have to live an integrous life. Otherwise, you live a life of contradiction. And if you're living in contradiction, you're just going to be stressed out. Your health's going to be poor.
Yeah.
You're going to be all over. You're just going to be all over the map.
For sure. So, Jake, I'm going to put you on the spot. I want you to tell us about a success story you've had with a client using the MORPH method.
Sure. So, I mean, I've got so many.
Right. I'm sure you do. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that one person in particular that I feel like really was struggling was Cindy. She's got MS, and she just was trying to figure out how to get herself healthy. She was in a wheelchair. She was blind for a little while, and so she was really having a hard time getting healthy. And so when I worked with her, it was losing weight, getting in shape, going to the gym, and as you know, MS could be, it just wreaks havoc on people. So it was really difficult for her. It was painful. It was the gym was not a great experience for her, and so we just built out a plan that was tailored for her, customized for her, and it got her in the best shape and got her feeling great. She's in her mid 50s. She's doing wonderful. So I think it's holistic, right? So, we're looking at what are the things that we can take responsibility for in our life that can bring us better health. and so it's shutting the news off sometimes.
Yeah.
It's going to bed a little earlier.
Yeah.
It's it's getting to the gym when you don't want to. It's cooking. Let's say making some meals. Planning some meals out, and meal planning, and it's just basic stuff. And if you just put it together and you just do it for a period of time, you'll be like, wow, okay, this works. Everything starts to work. Everything starts to line up really well.
Yeah, definitely you have to be consistent. I think that's the problem with a lot of things in people's lives. Where they like we were talking about, they want instant gratification, and it just doesn't happen. You just have to be consistent with your habits over time.
Yeah, I mean, there's really, I mean, to me, there's no, like, I take a non-negotiable stance when it comes to your health. To me, it's our main priority. It's our main responsibility that we have in this life. Our kids depend on it. Family depend on it. Society depends on it. Like, we all are depending on our health. So it should be the most important thing in your life, and you should be putting the most amount of effort you can into it. So to me, that it is about just being consistent. Of course, you got to still enjoy your life too. But I think you enjoy your life so much more when you put a lot of effort into it.
Well, and you kind of said it without saying it, but our health is our most important thing. And if you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine being 50 years old and being wealthy. You've got more money than you could ever spend, and you can't do anything because your health is so bad. I mean,
I just witnessed it.
we hear about it all the time.
Yeah.
It's horrible. I saw a thing the other day about, that's one of the things that we can control. And not only our health, can we control our health, but we, I would argue, depending on how you define wealth, but I would argue that your health is going to let you define your wealth even better. I mean, for sure. And even if that includes monetarily, I think it's true that being healthy will help you increase your wealth.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a level of wealth that people have where they feel like, well, I've got so much wealth, I can sit back and I don't need to work on my health as much, And so, but I do think that health is wealth, as you said. And I think that if you work on your health, you will become wealthier. Like, it'll give you the tools, the energy to be more productive, think clearer, have better imagination about how you can get yourself, think your problems through, find solutions. And so I think that there's a lot that comes to you through getting healthier that you wouldn't have otherwise.
So tell us what it would be a typical, how a typical client would come to you, and how that process works.
Sure. So, I mean, I will take a client no matter what they're really kind of going through, so it doesn't matter really too much, because I am going to be working with them mainly on their mindset. So, for me, it's about cultivating a really healthy mindset, because, if you could give them the best diets in the world, best workouts in the world, best everything in the world, but if their mindset is not right, it's not going to go anywhere. So I really try to help people cultivate a really healthy mindset through like growth mindset principles, helping them, set aside time to meditate, work with them on breathing, work with them on how to be mindful and how to look at their problems through different lenses, different perspectives, find solutions creatively. And I think it's more or less an ecosystem of health. So, I'm working with them on so many different levels. But, just say for, as far as like diet and whatnot goes, I just want people to start eating healthier at first. I think that what's missing is people are not eating healthy. So once you start eating whole foods, and you start eating for the appropriate, the appropriate amount for your body weight that you want to be, your body just magically will morph into that, and so,
Right.
and then as far as like exercise go, I'm just, I put people on, whatever they can do. A lot of times it's like, hey, let's just start off with walking. Let's just start off with going to the gym a couple times a week. I'm a really big believer in baby steps, pacing it out with people, making sure that they can wrap their minds around it. Because if it just overly stresses them out, like changing people's lifestyles is very hard to do. As you probably are aware, it's one of the hardest things you can ever do. And so, to help encourage them, just like, hey, every week we're just going to work on something new. We're just going to work on just little baby steps, and then I help them build out a health mission statement, but I'll also help them build out a life mission statement. I'll help them look at all kinds of different things that they got going on in their life, because I'm also helping them with stress management. So I want them to, cultivate a stress management system into their life. So so there's a lot to it.
Yeah, and I love it though. There's a lot to it, but you're keeping it simple. I love that, and I like that you start them where they're at. So, and some people, that are into coaching, fitness coaching, they're like, well, you got to go to the gym 4 to 5 days a week to have results. And this person is sedentary, been on the couch for the last 20 years. Talk about a way to start failure. And like you said, I mean, walk. Just get up and walk for 5 minutes.
Yeah, simple
Seriously.
things. That's right.
Right. It's that simple.
Yeah, so, you got to crawl before you walk.
Yeah, that's right. Right. Do you have any more questions for Jake, Janet, as we wrap this podcast up?
I think he answered most of them.
Okay. So, Jake, tell us what you have a passion for first.
Well, I mean, obviously, I love traveling. I love working out. I'm really into, fitness and health and whatnot. So, I kind of do what I love, actually. So, but that's what I'm really passionate about, is traveling. I really, really love traveling.
Awesome. Love it. So let's go ahead and stream his website, Vanessa. Tell us a little bit about your website if anybody wants to get a hold of you.
Sure. So this here is my new program that I just started. I'm actually a narcissistic recovery coach. So I help people that are going through toxic relationships right now in cultivating a healthy lifestyle out of that. So as you know, toxic relationships are really horrible for your health. So right now, that's my second book I'm writing, is going to be on how to recover from toxic relationships. So this is my website right now. I'm offering a 12-week program for doing that. And my main program is my health program. So you can reach me through here if you like. So I do everything from weight loss, fitness, anything health related.
I love it. I love it. I love what you're doing. And Jake, you're not very far away from us, so we got to meet you sometime. We'd love to meet our podcast guests. So if you're ever over this way or over that way, we'll try to look you up.
Yeah, I always stop off in Moses Lake on my way to Coeur d'Alene. So I'll definitely.
Everybody always says that. I always drive by Moses Lake.
I got a Tesla, so they got this little Tesla supercharger station right there at the store. So in Moses Lake, so it's perfect.
well, next time you're in the area, let us know, and we'd love to meet you in person.
Definitely, we'll do that, Shawn and Janet. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, and you've helped us realize our goal of this podcast, which is to educate and empower individuals to take charge of their own health. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, well, thank you. Appreciate it.
And thank you, listeners and viewers, for tuning in to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. Tune in Thursday to our midweek podcast, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you.